Hi, this is Alicia Parr with another Heuristic podcast, and today we're talking Johnny Shelton. Johnny is the president of NC Trailers, and he's actively involved in the real estate investments as well. He's used a values-based, data-driven approach to grow his business a lot. And actually, gratitude is a big part of that formula. Anything you'd like to add to that, Johnny?
I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to have the conversation. I love talking about gratitude. It's a personal core value of mine and a professional core value. So, we have our NC Trailers retail trailer dealership business, and we have a manufacturing venture that we're working on, and some real estate and some other things. And most of the core values and a lot of the talk around gratitude is related to what we do here at NC Trailers.
Yeah. So the heuristic or rule of thumb is gratitude is contagious. Pass it on. And I just thought it was maybe a clever way to remind people that you really can't overdose on it as long as it's sincere. And it is contagious. You know, a little can go a long way, and you get one or two people expressing gratitude, it can really turn the tide in terms of, how people are feeling in a group. What's your thoughts? I guess what led you to pick gratitude as a core value for your business ventures?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate to, among my friends and some advisors, to have had them share, how gratitude has impacted them and some of the practices that they use. And, I've some of them have really touted the benefits of gratitude journaling, writing handwritten thank you notes. When you pick up on a lot of the habits of the people that you surround yourself with. And so I kind of was challenged at one point to say, hey, why don't you just for 5 days go write down 5 things that you're grateful for, and see how it makes you feel after the end of the 5 days. And so I did it, and I was like, wow, I think this is actually moving the needle on my perspective a little bit. And the more I did it, the more impactful it felt to me and those around me. And so after doing it for, I think I probably journaled for like a year, and I finally said, this is really working for me. And I think that it can translate to all parts of my life, personally, professionally. And, it really goes beyond just saying thank you and being polite.
Mm-hmm.
We think about gratitude. We think about showing sincere appreciation to those around us and becoming genuinely interested in those around us. And those are kind of two components, like how we talk about it here. And my journaling has evolved into like a 5-part thing now, where I enjoy it so much. Some days I don't. Some days it's obviously feels like a chore, but I keep reminding myself, hey, this is really important. And so, I guess just being influenced by those around me kind of led me to that journey. And the more I've done it, the more the more important, I guess, I've realized that it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's certainly personally impactful. Like, no matter who we are. So when you started talking more about gratitude with your team, I guess what changes did you see after you did that?
Yeah, so we talk about it and we say, hey, you're going to move toward more meaningful relationships, small or big.
Yeah.
When you start practicing gratitude and the two components that we talk about. So, showing sincere appreciation daily. That can be as simple as saying, thank you. Hey, you're doing a great job. And a lot of times we always tell people, hey, when you tell someone they're doing a good job, make sure you tell them why.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the important piece. And, it branches off and has so many benefits. When you give recognition to someone, especially when you do it in a team setting, other people then see the benefit of that positive behavior, that good decision that was made around gratitude. And I think another thing that, comes from it is when people feel more meaning as a part of a team and a part of a relationship. Like I said, it's big or small, it doesn't have to be this, it could be this person that you talk to for 5 minutes once a month. But if you say, hey, how was your weekend? Or, hey, thanks so much for your help on this. That little bit of interaction and that little bit of, bringing some meaning into the conversation really moves people to a place where they want to help you because they want to see you succeed rather than help you out of obligation or duty. And that's what we talk about a lot here is let's do it because we really want someone to do well. We don't want to just do things because it's our job. We talk about, let's wake up every day and want to go do what we, go do our job and go experience life and do something meaningful. Let's not just wake up and say, oh, I've got to go to do work today. And this is my job description. And these are the things I'm obligated to do.
Right. Do you find that it seems like back to that, it being contagious? Do you find that the more gratitude there is amongst the team, does that impact the amount of gratitude that people perceive or experience when working with their customers?
Yeah. So I believe that gratitude is very contagious, and it helps us, and it helps us, the people around us, in a lot of different ways. When you show gratitude, you'll see others around you open up, and they'll start to receive gratitude in a much more constructive way, and then they'll start maybe even returning some of that gratitude back to you, and that kind of opens up the lines of communication. That's customers, teammates, vendors, even people with the hardest exteriors. The people with the calloused hands, right? The machine operators and fabricators that we work with. You may get someone new to the team, and you tell them good job, thanks for the hard work, you helped to stay on schedule yesterday, and it really made a big impact. And they might look at you with like deer in the headlight looks at first, and then you come up to them the next week and you tell them something else that they really did to help out, and then the next thing you know, you get a smile out of them. And then you do it the next week and you get a thanks for saying that, and then it works in different ways for different people. Pick up on it right away, and they're like, they already walk in the door with embracing that value. Other people, it takes them a little while to appreciate it, but it is contagious, because if you keep practicing it, if it's a value that you always make decisions around, then I've always found that if you have the right people on your team, they'll all be receptive to it, and most customers will become receptive to it as well. We don't want to talk about gratitude here only with the purpose of the positive results that it gets you around, like customers leaving you reviews, or people people doing things for you they may not do as a result of it, because those are the results of gratitude, but that shouldn't really be our why. Our why of gratitude isn't because somebody's going to go do something for us that they may not do otherwise. It's not because we want the customer to leave a good review. Those are just other benefits that you get out of it.
Right. That'd be like manipulative or like instrumental gratitude, which is like, it's not as sincere.
Yep. So we do structure gratitude, but we don't do it with those ends in mind. We want to make the why behind always showing gratitude to be, because moving toward more meaningful conversations and relationships with your counterparts makes everybody's job more pleasant, and gives us something that's meaningful to go do every day. And so the positive benefits that come out of that are, if you're very gracious and grateful to a customer, you provide them a great experience. You'll get reviews for us in the retail business are really a big deal. And
Mhm.
so customers will end up being a lot more likely to um, reciprocate that gratitude that you show them through like the form of a review. If you
Yeah.
get a vendor that's really difficult to work with, maybe they're not very responsive or whatever it is, if
Yeah.
you come into that, hey, how was your day going? I hope you're having a fantastic week. Hey, how's your kid doing? Are they still playing soccer? And you just have 3 minute being genuinely interested in what they have going on, and
Yeah.
and then it makes that move toward a little bit more meaning, every time you interact with them, and then it just kind of makes your transactions more frictionless, because then
Mhm.
they want to help you succeed once you get to that point where you have a meaningful relationship. And I say that all the time, develop meaningful relationships. And so I think
Mhm.
people say, wow, that sounds like you got to invest a lot of time. And I'm like, no, 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 that's not what I mean. Like
Mhm.
5 minutes once a month, you can still develop, move the needle to a transactional relationship to something with a little more meaning to it.
Mhm.
I think that's how you
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that intention can make a difference even in small ways. And it's like it's a reframe. Like I'm framing this as an opportunity to build a connection rather than, yeah, like you said, like a transaction, pure transaction.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
I,
have examples where we, go through that with our teams so that they can
oh,
understand the full benefit of it. But
cool. Well, yeah. So what are some exercises or I guess, how do you teach the team or I guess encourage this sort of thing in your team?
yes, we do a couple of cool things around kind of structuring gratitude in our processes. So we have weekly leadership meetings and bi-weekly department meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning of every one of those meetings on the agenda, we have a core value review,
Mm-hmm.
and in the few minutes saying, okay, this week we're going to talk about this core value, and this is what it means to us, and this is maybe an example of what it looks like in action.
Right.
And someone was assigned from the previous meeting to share um, that value in action.
Right.
What that does is, recognizes the person, which is a big part of how you practice gratitude, right? Showing recognition, showing appreciation for that person and the thing that they did that was a positive impact to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move into a more open part of the agenda where we spend a few minutes saying, okay, does anybody have any shout outs that they'd like to recognize anyone for? And at first, when we started doing this, it was, you didn't get a lot of people volunteering to say anything. But since we've been doing it for a while, now it's like, okay, we're out of time. We can't add any more to the list. We got to move on through the agenda. You get so many people like volunteering, and you're like, man, this is fantastic. Look at all these folks that are seeing all of these things throughout the week, and
Yeah.
they're remembering them enough to bring them into the meeting and say something about it.
Yeah.
And that's a really good feeling for everyone in the room. It really gets the meeting started off on a positive note. And then, so what we do with that is, we bring it to the department levels, and and get those folks starting to do the same thing, recognizing other people for doing a great job. And then, like it says, it becomes contagious when someone sees someone else get recognized for a good behavior. They say, oh, that's the behavior that helps. That's the helpful behavior. That's the one
Mm-hmm.
I for, making decisions more in line with what that person got recognized for doing a good job for. And it a lot of times you just want to show people like this is what we want,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to do the right thing. They just maybe aren't exactly clear on what that right thing is. So those are great examples to lead people in the right direction on how we want to go about doing things here. And then we record all those shout outs. And then at the end of the month, we have a company meeting where everyone gets together and every department manager goes through and gives a few minutes highlight of the month. We
Uh-huh.
hit measurable targets. We we landed this big deal or whatever it is. And then at the end, they will go over their shout out highlights. And so they, because we keep those lists, they can go back through the list and say the ones that pertain to their team. And then another point of recognition comes out of that. And so those are some of the processes that we use. We also provide journals, like some of our managers provide gratitude journals to their teams.
Oh.
And they challenge them, hey, 5 things for 5 days, and see if they can make a difference. And some folks do it.
Yeah.
We provided some prompts. The gratitude journals have prompts in them a lot of times when you purchase them, but we also provide them with about 25 prompts that say, what are when you get stuck, right? Especially when you first start gratitude journaling, narrow box, and then you got to broaden it out and say, but that's great, because when you start recognizing, like, hey, there's so many things that I should be grateful for. So the prompts are like, did I have any, what wins did you have today? Or well, I was trying to think of some other ones, like what opportunities are you grateful for? Or what relationships are you grateful for? And that kind of gets the ball rolling for you to easier and not feel like such a task.
Sort of greases the wheel.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the way I started journaling as well. And I've been doing it for a few years now, but for me, it really highlights and creates a balance in the events of the day. And that's narrative that we all have a narrative running through our head of, the events that, of our experiences. And so it really highlights and creates a balance, since we have these other things in life that tend to skew to the negative, right? Like a lot of sources that tend to have a negative skew to them. And then you also have this loss aversion bias that everybody has, and that you need something to balance that out. And I think that journaling really allows us to highlight the good things and the things that can offset some of that negativity that may be impacting us. And so my journaling, I break it down into 5 parts, but I do 5 things I'm grateful for. And then I have some accountability questions, like, did I work out? Did I follow my diet? And then I have an open-ended question, did I have any wins today? And I try to journal about any wins that I had through the day. And that could be, a measurable target hit at work, or it could be something relationship-wise, like, hey, had a really good conversation with this person today, and it really, felt like we got into a more productive place, or whatever it might be. And then who did I focus my time on today? And then what did I learn today? And I try to go through those every day and make it a habit to go through it. And like I said, it's evolved over time, but one thing about gratitude journaling is you need a trigger. You need something that runs you every day. Like, when I do this, all right, now it's time to journal, right?
Gotta have it.
My trigger is, so I have an 8-month-old at home, and I do the 10 p.m. feeding, and that's he falls asleep, right after that. And so I do my dad duty, right? And then as soon as he falls asleep, then I gratitude journal immediately after that. And that's kind of my trigger. And so sometimes you don't feel like it, but you always remind myself, hey, you got a lot to be thankful for, and you need to remind yourself of it. So let's go get this. Let's go get this done.
Oh no, that's amazing. I mean, you've got such a discipline around it.
I didn't start there. I started with just the journaling, and I just liked it so much, and it gave me such clarity of thought, and and it kind of evolved to this.
Yeah, it's like, so with the Performentor team, we have, what have I got, like 25, 26 team members, and like, we rarely see each other in person. and so many of us are working across all these different clients, and while sometimes we get a chance to work with a few different people, but for the most part it is hard to kind of keep that sense of connection. And a couple of things that I've found that have been really useful is, one, since we interact so much on Slack, that sort of texting app, I've created a channel where I call it Kudos channel. And so I'm often writing things in there and tagging people. I'm reminding people when I have one-on-ones, hey, have you recognized anyone lately? And then once a month, we have a business update, and we have that later today, in fact. And after briefly talking about the mission, we go straight into gratitudes. And at this point in time, we make sure that everyone says something, which everyone loves doing. And some people have a hard time just picking one. But like, to your point, that really changes the energy. And I know it's an investment in time in the meeting, but to me, it's worth it.
That's
yeah.
when we were putting the agenda together, we're like, are we really going to spend time on core values and recognizing, doing all this recognition? And it didn't feel like something that we should do on one hand. On the other hand, I was like, man, it really feels like, we need to make sure that we're here and reminding people that they're here doing something that's helping everybody, thrive together. Like, their behaviors and their actions and the decisions that they make are impacting everyone around us. They're impacting our customers. And how do we keep reminding folks of that? And I think that the most practical way to do that is to start with gratitude, and then, recognize folks as, and that's a form that we talk about, that as a form of gratitude, and being genuinely interested in folks as another form of gratitude.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be a really good decision, in the end. That's kind of where we landed on it. But I think that people also have a real hesitation around gratitude. We try to think about, well, why are we struggling with this person or this team around getting behind this? And I think that people relate gratitude to vulnerability in some way, and they really resist that. They don't want to open up and say, I think managers feel like if they show too much gratitude, they're supporting mediocrity, or they're being, maybe they're going to be soft, or whatever it is. And, they want to, sometimes they feel like they got to be this like hard driving guy to go out and get the performance they need. And you got to break through that. And we've got to get people to overcome that, that hesitation. And so that's something that we do too. We talk about, well, why wouldn't you want to show gratitude? And kind of name it, kind of label the reasons why you may not. And then I think that helps people get past it.
Gotcha.
But it really, and you also can talk about the benefits of it, like the why, getting meaning to the things we do every day. Those are really the why. But you should give them some stories, about why it helps. Like, you have I'll pick on a vendor, but you have a vendor that like may be difficult to work with. Maybe they're not getting you the information that you need in a timely manner, or being receptive. And people will say, hey, I just can't do my job because my counterpart over here, that I don't have any just choice in who our vendor is, but my counterpart here is not really being easy to work with. And then, I need help. And so I remember a specific example where somebody came to me and they said, hey, this is a big account, and my counterpart within this vendor is not letting me do my job correctly, from accomplishing my job. And what do I need to do about it? And I said, CC me on the last few emails, or forward me the last few emails that you've sent them. And, they did. And I said, okay, I see one thing here. It's like direct request. It's like, they didn't even put their name at the top. It was just, I need this. And that was it, right? And following up on my previous email, I still need this, you know, and I'm like,
Ooh.
you're not going to get anywhere doing this. I was like, look, I'm going to call them. I'll see if I can get them on the phone, and I want you to sit here. And so I called them. Of course, they didn't answer. I immediately texted them, and they didn't respond within a couple of minutes. And so I found a Mr. Bean meme, GIF, and it was like him looking at his watch,
Yeah.
and it was and I just typed in like waiting, and that was like the first one that popped up in my GIF search, and
Yeah.
did that to them. They called me back in a couple of minutes, and I talked to them, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Been a long time since we talked. How's everything going? Glad to see you're still here, working with such and such. And, you had a kid like a year ago, right? How's that going? Are they doing well? And it's just 3 minutes of talking about them, asking them questions, being genuinely interested.
Right.
And hey, I really appreciate all the help you provide us. You're a key partner with us. And, is there any way you can help us with this? And she's like, sure. Let me go ahead and send that over to you. And I said, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. And we get what we needed. And, they were like, well, of course they're going to say yes to you. You're the owner.
Oh, that's the only difference. Yeah.
I didn't commit the whole point. Like, I was like, that isn't really why. I promise you that's not why. I'm like, listen. And I tried to show them, like, look, when you write an email, you need to put their name at the top. You need to say, hey, hope you're having a great day. Try to find something to connect with them about. Like,
yeah.
Hey, hope your week's going well. Did you, see this thing that happened, or did you hear about this thing that happened in the industry, or whatever it is? But try to find something to connect with them about, and then make sure you say, thank you so much for your help. You're really important to what we're trying to do here, or something. So we always say lead and end with gratitude. And I said that will make your relationships so much easier to work with, or your counterpart so much easier to work with. So,
did it work? Did he change?
Yeah, well, they, you do. We do coach people on just the simple, like, texting and emailing and things like that. And when you talk to someone on the phone, try to, if you're not, you don't have to be a comedian, but like at least try to smile when you're on the phone. We talk about that, smile even when you're having a bad day, but try to have some positivity or upbeat to the conversations that you're having, because people have long call lists. Your counterparts have long call lists, and they will move you up or down their call list based on how much they really want to talk to you or how much they really want to help you. If you are genuinely interested in them and you continuously show them gratitude, eventually you're going to start working your way up their callback list, and
point.
I think that I found that that's the case. It's not your job title that gets you the callback as much as it's your relationship that you have with them.
Yeah. So at least as important, if not more important.
I would say, I would even say it's more important. That's just me, but I think it's important. I think, that relationship that you develop with someone is key, to trying to get, the things done that you need to get done, and doing it every day. I think it's really hard to do your job every day if you don't think that it's important, if you don't think that there's meaning behind it. So that's what we always talk about, bringing back the reason that you show gratitude is because
it creates meaning. Having connections with other humans is one of the most meaningful things that any human being can do.
Yeah. And so if you're going to do it, you might as well try to always give the connections that you make the best opportunity to be enjoyable that you can. And what better way to do that than to lead with gratitude?
That's a good. Yeah. So before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about, like, what are the steps that you can take before you hire somebody, to, I guess, set the stage in terms of what the expectations are, but maybe also screening them for their willingness. So I guess, is there anything that you've been practicing or experimenting with in order to do that?
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate your help and your organization's help with this. But we've been developing a better hiring practices and trying to center them around core values.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our core values, and one of my favorite core values, is always show gratitude. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're developing scenario-based questions around evaluating someone's core value fit.
Mm,
Believe that core value fit is more important than skill set fit to a job description. I mean, obviously we want both.
right.
The thing that's easier to evaluate is skill set. The thing that's really hard is core values. And
Yeah.
so when I've been going over scenario based questions with your team, it's funny because they say, well, can we get 3 bullet points like around what you're looking for in an answer to this core value question? And I'm like, I can't. I'm gonna have to write 3 pages because boiling it down to 3 bullet points, that's tough. It's that, writing something long or being, long-winded is easy, and being concise is hard. But
Yeah,
that's
it's
something that
true.
we're working through. But we are really trying to incorporate core values into our hiring processes. And then we're going to roll that into, okay, now our onboarding really needs to be heavily focused
Mm,
on what those core values look like in action for us.
cool.
And giving examples are one of the best ways that I've come up with
Yeah.
teaching core values and getting people off on the right foot whenever they start here.
Yeah.
People come from all
Storytelling. We
backgrounds,
learn
and
from stories,
yeah, I believe.
and that's what's an example but a story. And if you can present it like a hero's journey, like at first this person had trouble, like your story about your colleague who is having trouble, with the vendor,
Mhm.
you can, change names to protect the innocent, but that's a
Yeah,
great story.
yeah,
It illustrates not just the benefit and the expectation of gratitude, but also what can happen if you don't do it.
right. I get that completely. And the thing about gratitude and the hiring process and the onboarding, and then the continuous things that we have in our around our processes, they they are continuously creating the opportunities for us to have those stories told back to us. Whenever whenever you record those shout outs, it may
Mm,
1 or 2 sentences that get recorded in the ledger, if that's what you want to call it. But then
sure.
you remember the whole story behind it. They'll tell you like, hey, this was really beneficial. We encourage people to ask like a follow-up question or two, just to make sure that we can get the full story behind it. Because if you can turn a core value shout out into a small, like, short story, like you said, it
Hmm.
becomes way more impactful. You get the full
Yeah.
context of how it impacted everyone, what core value drove that good decision. And it creates a really good opportunity for learning. And
Yeah.
so then you have a bunch of stories, right, that
Right.
you can pull from. And so sometimes we have the oldie but goodie like story that relates back to a core value. But even more impactful than that good story that you've been using for years is what happened last week, what
Yeah.
happened last month. Those are, even if the story hasn't been crafted quite as well over time,
Yeah.
um, timeliness of core values in action, timeliness of gratitude in action, um, is really helpful for people to
Yeah.
make something that resonates with them. If they feel like this is something that these are things that we do every day, and here's a story that happened last week or last month, then it makes it a lot more tangible, a lot more palatable for them to say, okay, so this is how this organization not only wants to operate, but this is how they do operate. This is actually part of the culture.
Yeah. So that story reminds me of when I worked at a job before I had started Performentor, and it was a largely remote, very fast growing business, and we had quarterly meetings on site, and some people had to dial in, obviously, because there's so many remote people. But we had core values awards. So we would give out an award for like the different core values, And the way that we do it is we would solicit nominations from the team, we'd organize them, and we'd have some sort of method for choosing the top ones. And some of the coolest innovations, none of which were HR's ideas, by the way. It was like all the people's ideas. And we're like, that's a great idea. We're going to do that. One of them was to get one of the nominators to go up in front of the group, the whole group, with the microphone. And these are all introverts, by the way. It's a bunch of scientists. And explain why they nominated this person. And before they announced the name, they'd announce the name and they would come up. And it was just so powerful, Johnny. It was so amazing. And then the other idea that was sort of follow on for that is, well, we've got all these long lists, just like you do, all these long lists of, nominations and why I'm nominating this person. Why can't we share this list of nominations with everyone who received them, whether they won or not? So we started doing that, where we would print it out and we would send it to them, and they would just keep it, post it in their cube or in their office. And it was just, it was one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen.
That's fantastic. That reminds me of two things. One, if you really want to measure how well your organization is embracing the idea of gratitude, whenever the department level folks are showing recognition and they're volunteering recognition of other people. They're doing a good job. And so whenever you go into a department meeting and it's time for the shout outs and you just get everybody wanting to volunteer, like this person really helped us out and this person did a great job around this and this and that, that's when you know that people are embracing gratitude. And because they just can't wait to volunteer some recognition. And then so that's what we talk about at the leadership level is, how well are your people jumping up and shouting about good behaviors and good decisions that were made? Because when they understand what we're looking for and are willing to recognize others for it, that's our core value in action, or that's gratitude in action. And then the other thing that I thought about when you were saying that is that we cite a study in this LMS that we're putting together, which, by the way, thanks for your guys' help on that too. We're putting together LMS for onboarding and kind of ongoing. It'll eventually be for ongoing education as well for our team members. And in it, we found we cited a study, and it was over 200 managers and employees, and it was by the OC Tanner Group. And they said 79% of people who quit their jobs cite lack of appreciation as a major reason. And I thought, man, that's a large percentage of the people that leave. That's
what a shame. Isn't that a shameful thing? I mean, it's so easy to fix.
Yeah, it is. It's very easy. It's easy to fix if you can get everybody believing in the power of it, and but it doesn't cost anything. It's just something that you incorporate into your culture. And if you hire, if you get the right people on board and you can show them what it is that you value, show them that gratitude is really important, it creates great teams, and it allows you to go out and accomplish the mission that you have. And that's one thing that we talk about too. And so we got to get the right people, and then we've got to make sure that they understand what the values are that we want them to go out and practice. And like I said, I can't think of one that I like to talk about more than gratitude, because I believe that it's great professionally, but it's also probably one of the most important things you can do personally. And so we're here as an extension of the person that we are outside of work. I mean, a lot of what we do at work is in service to the things that we want to accomplish outside of work in one way or another. And so a value that translates to both personal and professional, I think is really powerful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's so much that can be said, but of course, we need to wrap up soon. But I wonder sometimes it's obvious that if you're on the receiving end of gratitude, that should feel good, right? And I think what gets overlooked sometimes is how rewarding it is to the person giving the gratitude.
Yeah, I agree with that. It comes back to, highlighting the good things. Like, let's say you have a somebody that's doing something on your team that is
Mhm.
annoying you, or it may be even a poor behavior or something that leads to a negative impact to your team.
Right.
You're going to fix, a lot of people will fixate on that one thing, and that is the persona that they develop for that whole person. It's around that one thing.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have anything to balance it out with. And we find that, you know, if you show gratitude for the things that they're doing well on a regular
Mhm.
basis, then that opens up the opportunity for them to receive that coaching opportunity.
Mhm.
But otherwise, there is no foundation for you to coach, and then for them to be able to receive that coaching around, maybe a behavior change or
Right.
change that that you may need them to have. And so you gotta you have to balance it out. You got to make sure that you're recognizing all the good things that your folks are doing, so that when you go into a conversation or you formulate how you want, what you want to talk about in that conversation, that you have a balanced approach, that you're recognizing all the good things that are doing, and there's just this one thing that we need to talk about. And I feel like whenever you walk into the room and you have that conversation, you can do it with a smile on your face because you're remembering, well, they do a lot of great things here.
Mhm.
And then we always talk about leading and ending with gratitude. Well, the coaching conversation is the same way. You say, hey, you're doing all this stuff great. I really appreciate all of it. Let's talk
Mm.
about this thing where we have a really good opportunity here to improve. And then, but don't make it the first time, because it comes off insincere if that's the first time that they've heard you recognize them. If it's
Oh,
followed
right.
by criticism, right?
Yes.
Here's
Oh,
that
yeah.
yeah. That's why you need to do it as often as possible. Every day, try to find something to recognize someone on your team for, and obviously every meeting and all, but if they know that you're seeing the good things that they're doing, they'll be willing to receive, coaching around an opportunity where they can get better, and it makes it that much more. It gives them that much more of an ability to receive that coaching, in my opinion. And then you end with gratitude too. Say, really appreciate everything you're doing. Let's go out there and have a great day. And if you need any more support around this, let me know. Whatever it is, but it makes that conversation that much easier to have with all
Right.
your team members.
Well, they feel seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well,
Exactly.
they see the things that I work on, they see the things that I'm good at. They're not just all they do is complain, I mean,
I
and
mean, how can they trust you if you've only come to them with the negative things that they need to
mhm.
work on? Right? I
Yeah,
mean, you need
you
some
wouldn't.
level of trust if you're going to sit down and have someone tell you need to do something better. I
Yeah.
mean, I think you do. I think that it really multiplies the impact of the things that you're trying to communicate when you have some level of trust. And if you don't recognize them for the things that they're doing well, if you never talk to them about the things that they're doing well, they're not going to feel understood. And if they don't feel understood, they're not going to feel like they can create that trust, that bond with you.
Yeah. Well, I think we should probably wrap up. I mean, this is a great conversation, and I'm thinking in my head, who are all the people that I want to be sure that I share this video with once they get it posted? Because this is actually a lot comes up more often than you might think, and when I'm talking to other clients.
Okay,
But
yeah, it's been very helpful. And I appreciate the things you wrote up about it as well. You had
mhm.
a lot of great insights around gratitude. So, we love talking about it. And like I said, it's one of my favorite conversations. So I appreciate you asking me to come on
Yeah.
and share some things with you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I mean, the stories that you shared are very impactful. They're specific, and they should be relatable and meaningful to just about anybody that listens. So, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate having you as a client as well. All I hear from the team is what a delight you guys are to work with, not just because you're pleasant and grateful, but because you're trying to build something important and good for the people. So thank
Well,
you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, your guys are fantastic. We enjoy working with you. It makes it when you have shared values like, gratitude, it really makes it easy to work with people. So I
That's
appreciate
true.
what you guys do for us as well.
Thank you. All right. Take care.
All right. See ya.